Hello and welcome. You're watching Hit the Streets with me, Steve G. If you haven't been here before, this is a YouTube channel dedicated towards all things street photography. In this video, we're going to take a look back at the last month's worth of content. We're going to look at some photos that I really like, some photos that I'm not so keen on, and we're going to talk about some of the wonderful new content that we've had on this channel for the last month, as well as maybe a sneak preview of some things yet to come. Right after this. Wow, so this month has been absolutely incredible on the channel, and it's largely thanks to you guys. So a massive thanks to you who have been following this channel from its inception, and a big thank you to all those who have subscribed this past month. September was pretty crazy. I was away on holiday for a lot of it. I had lots of new types of content going out there, much of which was really well received, and we had a lot of new subscribers. So the month really did kick off properly with the retrospectives. The retrospectives, I think, were a really good way to really show you guys some of the history of my photography, show you guys a fresh look at how I like to frame up images when they're not based in London. And it's a really good way of digging into the archive too, just to show you guys some of my personal favorite photos from when I've been out and about traveling. It started with Thailand, which was the start of my own personal street photography adventure. A lot of those photographs in Thailand were actually taken on a Panasonic GH4 with a 14-140 zoom lens. Completely impractical stuff for street photography, completely different from the equipment that I shoot on now. But it was an incredible induction to street photography because everywhere that you go in Bangkok and Thailand, there's something beautiful and interesting and cultural to look at. And nearly every photograph that you take there is rich in some sort of way. So it was a really nice introduction to what would be a little bit of an ongoing series last month of retrospective videos. Of course, Thailand was followed by the Rome and Venice video, which is a personal favorite of mine. Last year, I think I said it in the video, but it really was the year of Italy for me. There was several trips there. I found it difficult to shoot street for the most part in Italy, with the old quarter of Naples being a notable exception. It was so grungy and so rich and full of character that everything I took there was really interesting in some way, shape or form. And that video then was followed by the Soho nights video. Soho obviously is a very place that's very close to me in terms of photography in London. I really enjoy shooting there, and I tend to go back to that well more often than not. And then finally the retrospective series was rounded out by a video which was probably more for me than for the channel. It was the Apollo 11 video, and it was really just heroing some of that phenomenal photography that the guys took on the lunar surface. For those of you who are interested in deep diving into where and how they took those photographs, the New York Times actually put together a really interesting microsite that I'll link in the description below if you're interested in that sort of thing. And of course, this month saw the debut of the, I don't even know what to call them really. I've called them From the Sensor on the channel. They're real-time point of view street photography videos that are captured directly from the sensor of the camera, which is really nice because you get all the settings and all the sensor readout and all the data that I see whenever I'm capturing my street photos. And it took a little while for me to get even into this series. We've set 3 of them live so far. So you'll have seen Harrods. You'll have also seen a lovely little Instagram hotspot called Peggy Pushton, which sells the most remarkable cupcakes. If you're ever in the area, do pick one up. It's totally not a girly thing. And then finally for that series this past month, and it's probably the most successful From the Sensor video so far, was that one that I took outside Big Ben and Westminster. The success or failure of those videos tends to lean on the location more than anything, but the technical quality of them, if you listen to the audio in the Harrods video versus what I was able to capture even with music going on in the background at Big Ben, the difference is quite night and day. The trouble with those videos is that it's actually quite difficult to find a really cool spot with high enough foot traffic that I can take some really interesting photos for you guys over the space of about a 10-minute period. So I have my own shortlist, but if you guys have anywhere in and around London that you think would make a really good opportunity for this kind of video, do share it in the comments section below. Of course, we had the Soho Nights retrospective, but even in that video, I was already alluding to doing something quite special in terms of a Soho POV. And that came in the form of myself teaming up with a really close friend of mine to do a set of POVs in Soho in sync. So what we did, we met up, we set up our equipment, went separate ways for 60 minutes and just did our best to take as many street photos as possible in the Soho area before coming back together and creating those videos. My POV was sort of the standard affair for this channel. It was really high-paced, quite frantic, jumping from spot to spot to spot to try and find some awesome street photos. Because I know that area so well, the first place that I went was just towards neon signs, just to capture something kind of cool and see if I could get some people walking in front of that and get some of that nice vibrant color in there. And from there, it sort of took me towards back alleyways and sex shops, all the usual kind of Soho stuff. But where Jonathan's POV differed from mine was actually in the fundamental ways that we approach street photography. Jonathan really likes his street portraiture, which I think is a phenomenal skill in and of itself. And his video I chose to edit in a slightly different way, not least of which because he's less trigger happy than I am with that shutter button. But it also gave you guys a little bit of an insight into how he asks people for their permission to take their portrait on the street. Do you want to see a video that's just that? If so, leave a note in the comments section below and we'll work towards getting something put together for you. A couple of my favorite photographs from those sessions is obviously Jonathan did a really awesome series with a sort of a gangster looking guy with these awesome gold teeth that just reflects in the light of a street light. I think that was absolutely amazing, and massive props to him for pulling that off. An image I quite liked from my session was actually the semi-naked mannequin photograph with the two ladies walking along outside it. There's this interesting juxtaposition between the mannequin and how prim and proper those two ladies are. And there's something really nice about the light, the way it illuminates the girl's arm and other pieces as well in it. It just compositionally came together really well. And on top of that, I really liked some of those actually quite dark images where I'm hunkered down literally in the gutter of a back alleyway, shooting through multicolored lights, trying to capture silhouettes. There's a couple of images that I managed to capture in that session that I think worked pretty well. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. And from there, August 5th saw the launch of what will be a big, ongoing, perhaps 12-month long content series in the format of what I'm calling street photo, cheap photo. It's where I'm basically sourcing and locating older equipment to see if it can do the job of a modern street photo camera. That particular video actually took me quite a while to put together. It started with unlocking the power of the iPhone 7, and there's still quite a lot of power in that old lens and that old phone. I say old, it's 3 years old, but that might as well be a lifetime in terms of technology. The video itself was really interesting to put together because I was actually on holiday at the time at a wedding in Ireland. And then because my mother doesn't fly and I'd promised her a trip to Paris, I actually had to get the boat from Ireland to England with her, but that boat opened up additional opportunities to test the rigor of the camera in an environment that you actually don't normally see. Like, I don't know of anybody else that's done a camera test on a boat in the Irish Sea, so if you do know of anyone else that's done that, leave me a link down below. I'd love to check that out. But then it all obviously took me to France as well, which was pretty fun. Whilst I was walking around, I not only had my X-T2 in my hand, but I also had my phone camera out at the same time. And it allowed me to just do this little interesting comparison video between the two. And I know some of you guys really loved it, and thank you very much for your comments on that video, because it meant a lot considering how long it took me to actually put together. I have some really interesting old technology that I really want to test out in the coming weeks and months, just to see if they can do the job of my X-T2. I'll give you guys a sneak peek. 1 minute. So since I was a kid, have always wanted a Polaroid camera. So this series was the perfect opportunity to actually pick one up and see what I could do with it. It's a Polaroid, I think it's a Polaroid 600, takes 600 format film, and it's actually going to be really interesting to see how this bulky plastic beast does the job of an X-T2. I mean, how close do you think I'll be able to get to a subject looking like this? Tune in to find out. And I think that's everything. These reviews are probably going to be monthly going forward, simply because I want to make room for so much other types of content. There's things coming like tips and tricks for beginners. There will be a massive 2-week long event in about a month or two that I'll tell you guys about that in the future, but that's something to really look forward to, especially if you're fairly new to street photography. As always, if you liked the video, hit that thumbs button. If you loved it, hit subscribe down below. It really does make all the difference to YouTube's algorithm in terms of seeding the content on this channel out there. And that's everything from me. Hit the streets, guys.